My name is Annie. Welcome to Annie's Vlog. So I'm really experimenting here. This is my first live ever. I'm recording on my phone. I hope the sound is good. I'm recording on my phone because the camera is much better on my phone than on my laptop, but that's why it's vertical. I would love to have it horizontal, but it doesn't work. Anyways, doesn't matter. So this is the first live and I have notes. I'm a little bit nervous actually. I have notes so that I don't forget what I wanted to talk about. So basically I'm going to answer some questions that came over from my Instagram page, from the Annie's Vlog Instagram page. And you can totally go follow me on that page as well. It's Annie's, so Annie with an S, ANNIES _flock. And so I have some questions already prepared that came from the Instagram account. But first, before answering those questions, I want to talk about what's coming next for Annie's Vlog. So I want to start doing live videos like this once a week. So what I would like to do, now I'm going to have to figure out a little bit better the technology part, but as I go, I guess I'm going to get better and better at it. But for now, what I want to do is do one live every week. So we'll see if Saturday 10 a.m. works, or if it doesn't, then maybe I'm gonna change it to a different day or different time, something that works for me and for people in general. So I'm being distracted by my bird that are in the background. my birds that are in the background. Anyways, so the plan for me, what I want to do is to have a live every week at the same day, same time, so people know that it's coming. And 24 to 48 hours prior to the live, I would post in the community page like a poll of what do you want me to talk about on this live? So there will be like different topics, and then you can go vote which topic you want me to talk about, or anything else. If you want to talk about anything else, you can also put a comment underneath on the community page. So that would be 24 to 48 hours prior to the live, as well as I would do just like I did for this one. I would just schedule the live in advance. So you would see also when the live is going to be, and you can click that little notification bell where it says notify me. And then it's going to also notify you once the live is up and running. So that's what's coming for Annie's Vlog. I want to experiment with that, see how that would go, because I would really like Annie's Vlog to be something like a safe space community for bird owners or future bird owners, to talk about, you know, all bird stuff related, really. So let me see if I forgot something about, I'm gonna have to put my glasses because I need reading glasses now. So about the live, yeah, so basically that's what it is. Yeah, so I feel like I was talking really, really fast. I'm a little bit thirsty. I'm a little bit nervous. Okay, so now let's get into the question. Now, if you do have questions, you can put them in the chat. Now, I just don't know how I'm going to see it in the chat, though, to be honest with you, because I'm trying to figure out on my phone. Okay, I see comments, so that's good. You do have questions, let me know. Okay, I didn't know how the chat was working, if I would see it on my phone, but I do see it. Okay, perfect. All right, so first question that I had on my Instagram, Annie's Vlog Instagram page was, what was what's been my favorite moment since getting Lucy? So if you're new here and you don't know who Lucy is my Indian ringneck. She is about 8 years old, and I adopted her from a breeder about a year ago. And it was quite the journey because she was completely untamed. And as the breeder said, she was not to be handled in any way, shape, or form. So, and if you know about Lucy, well, you know I absolutely handle her now. I mean, it's not perfect, but I do. So, what was my favorite moment? I cannot choose one favorite moment because there's two. And the reason why I can't say one is better than the other one, it's because Lucy, so the reason why I cannot decide which one is, my favorite moment is basically because I felt the same thing, the same way for each. So, and I had the exact same reaction for both moments. So the first moment was the very first time when Lucy flew to me. I'm looking at her right now. She's preening herself. The first time that she was actually willing to fly to me, that was insane because she was trusting me enough to be in her space without being super aggressive, but she was trusting me enough to decide to fly to me. So what happened is I was cleaning her cage, and then when I clean her cage, she's just outside and about. And her body language really changed. So normally she was just staying as far as possible as she could from me. And that time her body language really changed, and she started to pace back and forth, and having that body language that was showing that she wanted to fly towards me. So that was pretty exciting, but I was really scared because every time I would approach her, she would want to bite like aggressively. So I had long sleeve, and what I did is I just put my arm like this with a treat in my hand, and I said, "Come on, Lucy, come on, Lucy." But I was just so scared. And she flew to me, landed on my arm, bit me, and flew back to her cage because she was so overwhelmed. That was the very first moment. And then I tried again. She came to me again. I shoved a treat in her mouth so that she couldn't bite me. And then she flew back to her cage. And then from there, it grew. But that moment when she chose to come fly to me, I can't even express how happy I was about that. Now, the second moment is the first time that she willingly and beautifully stepped on my finger, did a really nice step up. So I tried a while ago to do some step up. Again, I am scared to be bit because an Indian ringneck, they can bite quite hard, and she has a tendency to use her beak to move around because, again, if you don't know her story, she's missing like a claw, right? So she's always a little bit, she doesn't trust really her ability to really, yeah, it's like she doesn't trust her ability to stay really grounded, or I don't know how to really explain it, but she doesn't really trust herself. So she uses her beak a lot to move from one perch to another one, or yeah, so she stabilized herself with her beak. And because she's doing this, it's really hard for me to determine when I'm asking her to step up if she's wants to use her beak to step up or if she wants to bite the heck out of me, right? So it's really, really hard for me to determine the difference. So I had to practice step up with a little perch for a little while just to get that habit out of herself to use her beak and to just step on with one foot and then the other one. It's not perfect, but I had a few training sessions that she was, well, and the first one was just amazing when she decided to just do that little step and then step. Oh my God, same reaction than when she flew to me. It was amazing because again, she was able to fly to me and to land on my hand, but she wasn't trusting enough for me to go into her space with my hand. So that was really special. Okay, now the second question, I'm gonna pull my reading glasses again. The second question, what's been my biggest challenge with my birds? So again, I do not have one that I can pick. And I think it's a good way to also talk about the different challenges with different type of birds and birds that have different history and different backgrounds. So let's talk about Lucy first. The biggest challenge, it's actually still a challenge with her, it's for her to be comfortable around hens. So I don't think, I have very little information about Lucy and her previous life, but I have seen in front of me the breeder catching her with a net. It's an Indian ring neck. That's not a budgie. I'm not saying that it's okay to do it with a budgie, but it's an Indian ring neck. It's a bigger bird. Like she has a really wide wingspan, like a really long tail. Anyways, so I don't know if he was always handling her that way, but if he was, obviously her trust was completely gone with humans and hands because she was always being handled in a like she was forced to be handled, right? So anyways, so she had no trust. She still doesn't really have trust with my hands. She doesn't really like to be touched. I did a little bit of training with that. She tolerates it sometimes. Right now she's molting big time. She doesn't tolerate any human touch whatsoever unless she decides to fly to me. She won't even step up right now. I tried to do a step up training session and she just nailed me. She really bit me hard. So she's uncomfortable. She's really molting like crazy. So this is still a challenge. But I've been able to go from a bird that could not handle my hand close to her. I could barely change the food and the water in her cage when I first got her in January, not last January, January of last year. And now she is recall trained, so she'll fly to me and she lands on my hand. When I first started the recall training, there was no way she would land on my hand. She was landing on my arm, and then with a treat, slowly I've been able to get her to move towards my hand. And then at some point, I decided to recall with my thumb up so that she couldn't land here because that's what she was doing. She was landing here, but not on my finger. Anyway, so that was a long process. And if you're interested, I can totally do I think I might have a video that I talked a little bit about it. But anyways, that was quite the process. So now she is recall trained and she always lands on my hand. She now kind of step up. Not right now because she's really uncomfortable and really molting. Like every time she flies, there's a big feather that's she loses a big feather. She lost her big tail feathers, and anyway, so and she has on her head right now, she's like balding spots and pin feathers everywhere. Like she's looking a little rough. So she's probably super itchy right now and super uncomfortable. She's preening right now in her cage. So yeah, so no stepping up at that moment. But again, we went from a bird that could not, like I could not get my hand close to her whatsoever, to now her being recalled trained, and then she just flies to my hand all the time. So, but that's a big challenge still. Yeah. Olive, the biggest challenge was to put her back in her cage. So Olive, if you're new here and you don't know who Olive is my 2-year-old Black Cape Conure. So her story is very different from Lucy. I had Olive. She was 8 weeks old, I want to say. She was a little baby. She was hen tamed, hen fed. I literally ordered that bird from a breeder. I said I wanted to have a social bird that wasn't scared of humans and blah, blah, blah. He did a really good job at doing so, to the point that that bird did not want to stay in her cage ever. Now, you know, I had Olive before Lucy, but I had 2 budgies before Olive, and I could not have the budgies and Olive all together out because Olive would want to kill the budgies. So socializing all the birds was quite the challenge. So putting that bird back in her cage was like trying to get a toddler to sleep in their new toddler bed. If you have kids, you know exactly what I mean. It took me quite a bit trying different things, and it was a little bit heartbreaking because, yeah, I don't work from home. I work. So at some point in the morning, I had to put her back in, right? But I didn't want her to be upset or whatever. So I wanted to make this reinforcing and positive. So yes, having foraging toys, lots of toys she can destroy, all of that, but she really just wanted to be with me. The only thing that works, and still at that time, is I trained her to go in her cage, and she gets a special treat every time she goes in her cage. So it used to be, and for that, I had to find the treat that was the jackpot, the best treat ever, which for her was pine nuts. So she would get pine nuts. She's going crazy in her cage right now with one toy. She would get a pine nut only if she was going in her cage. So what I would be doing is I would use going back in her cage as a training session. So let's say I was doing a training session with her, I would always finish it, including going back in her cage as the training session, and we would end up with that pine nut like major reward. And then they're smart enough, she realized, oh, I get pine nuts only when I go in my cage. So now she does go in her cage really easily as soon as and I can go with walnut as well sometimes. It can vary. So it's, she knows. So I have 2 pouches. I have a yellow pouch that's like big treats, and the blue pouch, which is regular treats. So she knows when I'm picking up a treat from the yellow pouch, sometimes she's just going to fly right into her cage because she knows that she's going to get that reward. So now it's no longer an issue, but it was crazy. She would fly in the middle of my back, so I couldn't take her. I couldn't, like, it was just insane. And then she would scream in her cage all the time. It was just crazy. But now I made it fun, and it's no longer an issue. Now, with the budgies, it's still very difficult to do any type of training with these guys. So this is a really big challenge. First, I realized that I'm better with parrots than with like medium-sized bird, or the conure would be the smaller size because they're not as fast. So it's easier to see their body language. Budgies are so fast. You have to be super quick. So it's hard. And I have 2 budgies. I highly recommend, before getting a second bird, is to always make sure that the first you have is where you want, the bird that you have at the moment, your relationship with that bird is where you want it to be at. If you're still struggling to get where you want to get, don't get a second bird, because most of the time, not always, but most of the time, these 2 birds, especially with the same species, you know what I mean. They will, same breed. they will bond, and then you'll just be a third wheeler, what I am right now. The other thing that's a little bit difficult, so every time I get them out to do a training session, they like compete with each other, or like I can't really have a training session with just one of them. Having said that, there are things that are there are things right now that are changing in my home this month. So I'm going to be able to change some setup that I have for my birds. So I have 2 cats, so that makes it a little bit hard also for the budgies, because those guys, they fly and they go on the ground, no problem. And I can't, like, my cats are, can't do that. So they're kind of confined to be in the living room only, which is the biggest room that I have in the house. So it's not that big of an issue, but still. But my cats are leaving to go live with my daughter. So that will change a few things in the house. And I'm thinking that I might be able to start training them individually. So I'll update you on that when that comes. But training those budgies is really difficult because they are inseparable. They are always together. They're really fast. So Baby Blue, for example, and so they only, like, I can't give them like a big treat, like a walnut or a pine nut or a safflower seed or whatever. It's basically just spray millet. And if I don't go fast enough, then Baby Blue especially, he'll get frustrated. It's like, okay, give me the millet. Like, come on, chop, chop, right? So it's a little bit hard, and it's a little bit harder sometimes to read their body language as well. They're smaller, they're more fearful. Anyway, so there's a lot of it. I find it more challenging to train the 2 budgies than my Indian redneck and my conure. Now, last thing that I want to touch base on is one last challenge as a whole, okay? And I think that because it's been a challenge since I had Olive, and it's still a challenge. As a whole, it's to socialize my birds together. That is such a challenge, to have all 4 birds outside and to get along. Right now, Olive and the budgies, they're pretty good, but it took a really long time, but I wouldn't trust it. So I wouldn't leave them all together without me being there. Lucy hates other birds. She cannot enjoy any of the birds around her. She has that really big bubble, and it just doesn't work. I tried to train Olive and Lucy together to keep them busy and not wanting to like be at each other. Yeah, I had some really bad stuff happening. Nothing major, no injury, but I got scared a few times that blood would be shed. So this is still a challenge. I mean, not every birds will get along, even if they're the same breed. So I have to remind this to myself. I would love to have all my birds together, like out of their cage and have fun, and that would be the perfect world. But it's like we don't get along with everybody. Some people we just don't get along with, and that's it, and it will never happen. Well, it's the same thing with birds, right? So maybe Lucy will never get along with my other birds, and that's it. But I still want to try. So now with changing a little bit of my setup, like the bird, when my cats are gonna be gone, that might be a little bit different too. But yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure where this is going, but that might be an ongoing challenge for sure. So that is all for my answers for these questions. So this live is almost half an hour now. This is what I want to do. I want to keep those lives about half an hour long. I mean, if it gets very popular and people are asking questions in the comments and everything, then I might extend it to an hour if that works. Or sometimes there's some subjects that need to go a little bit more in detail, so we might go a little bit longer. If you want to see the birds in the live instead of just having me talking, let me know. The budgies is going to be a little bit hard maybe to bring them out because they're just going to fly everywhere. But maybe I can bring Olive or Lucy, not both at the same time. That's not going to work. But you can let me know. So we'll see you on the next live, and this one will stay up. I'm gonna leave it, so in the future, if there's a live that you cannot be there, then you can watch the record version, because I'm gonna leave all the lives up on my channel. Okay, take care, bye guys.